active duty military veteran, lifelong student of American history and a rifleman, involved training thousands of people through the Appleseed project, appleseedinfo.org, all over the nation to go out and learn riflery, learn how to hit a target 500 yards away, a man-sized target. And that is really the core of what let us win the war against the greatest empire on the planet that no one had defeated, not even organized governments and other empires. A few years later, they even beat Napoleon repeatedly. This is a very important story, and we are in the second American Revolution. Either the globalists, the multinationals, who've now stolen $8.4 trillion as of last week in the banker takeover bill, are going to be able to slowly but surely enslave us, or we're going to, in the information war, as the founders tried for close to 20 years, to fix things through the courts and through the ballot box. But make no mistake, the enemy is going to push it into physical conflict, and it's very important for the American people to understand our heritage and understand our history so they can know what needs to be done in the future. And so that's what we're doing here on this radio show, is educating you with a committee of correspondents about the crimes, about the abuses that are taking place in this country and worldwide today. Sam, I want to take calls coming up in the next two segments at 800-259-9231, specifically on history and the riflemen and the attack on the Second Amendment culture. But before we do that, let's continue with what happened that day and tell us about some of the other characters involved and then what this led to.
Okay, Alex. Well, Hezekiah Wyman, the guy who was too old, is one of the characters in what we call the dangerous old men. And the entire game that day was full of dangerous old men. One of them was Samuel Whittemore that you mentioned earlier. The man was 79 years old, a veteran of the French and Indian Wars, armed himself with a musket, a saber, and 2 pistols, and opened fire on the British when they came by. They sent a detachment to clear him out. He had killed at least 3 British before they got up to him. He was shot in the side of his head and had half of his face blown away. And he was bayoneted. They found him later that day with 14 wounds in his body from bayonets and gunfire. He lived to be 96 years old. And if you look at the phone books in Middlesex, I think he tried to repopulate the entire state of Massachusetts on his own. There are a lot of Whittemores up there. The British commander sent an ammunition wagon back to resupply them because they only carried 36 rounds in their cartridge boxes, and the cannon that Lord Percy had with him only had 12 rounds with them, what they carried in the side boxes. The ammunition wagon was guarded by a crew of grenadiers, the biggest, meanest, ugliest-looking assault troops in the British Army.
That's the Marines.
The Marines. They were assaulted by the old men of Woburn, led by a fellow named Daniel Lamson. The only record of him is known that he was a mulatto. And he led his group of elderly neighbors to capture that supply wagon, disabled the horses, shot the officers, and ran off the troops, and they got the ammunition wagon, so there was no resupply. Those grenadiers ran off in fear, scared for their lives, threw their guns into a pond, and went looking for a place to hide. They came across an old woman named Mother Bathrick. This woman is so poor she's out digging dandelions in a field to get some greens to eat. They surrendered to her, and she took them and turned them over to the militia. This was a very bad PR coup for the British because their critics in Parliament popped up and said, if one old Yankee woman can take 6 grenadiers, how many soldiers will it take to conquer America? We scared the British badly that day. We decimated them. They lost twice as many people as we did, and we kept up a running fire on them all the way back to Charlestown, which is a suburb of Boston. They holed up on the other side, and after that began the siege of Boston, which is where the war proper got going. But I think it's very important in this entire story to remember that the militia fought a purely defensive action. They didn't take aggressive acts. We had old man Jason Russell, who was too crippled to walk, said an Englishman's home is his castle, sent the wife and kids away and stayed home, and when the regulars came up, he fought them. They killed him dead. him and 11 others there at the house. Whether it was good judgment to fort up in the house and let them surround him and take him, I won't go into that. But the man was out there, too crippled to walk, and he's going to defend his home from the British Army. And this is the kind of character that these people had.
And now look at us today. The police in Illinois just do home inspections without warrants. I mean, all of this humiliation, the entire Magna Carta completely erased. We don't even have the Magna Carta. Forget the Bill of Rights in this country.
That is an issue, and it's something that the people are going to have to sit down and decide for themselves where all of this goes. And
well, as for me, I am going to try to rally as many people as I can to this threat.